Good evening. Happy Sunday, everybody. It finished yesterday. Brighton 3, West Ham 2, as we proceeded to throw away yet another game. Hello, Chris. How you doing?
Fantastic, mate. Loving it. Loving life, living my best life. Had a marvellous weekend. How about you?
It's been all right. I got stuff done. So apart from, West Ham's been the low point. I must admit, it did ruin my night last night. Put me in a bad mood. Put me in a really bad mood, Jess.
Never.
Gotta say, no matter how much I pretend it doesn't put me in a bad mood, always fucking does. And I don't think you can lose a game like that and not have the ump, can you?
No, definitely not. And to make things worse, I've just been watching football today, watching Liverpool, celebrating their deserved league triumph, right? And watching Man City beat Nottingham Forest as well. So, yeah.
Well, it was a debacle. Yesterday was a debacle. And so there's only really one subject of tonight's show. It's in a couple of parts. I'm going to play the troublesome Potter interview because, honestly, didn't look good, did it? Didn't look good. He was struggling in that one. I think, as Bodger said earlier, it was like he'd just come out of a massive row in the changing room and suddenly been asked questions. That's what it came. That's what it
looked like he'd been dragged through a hedge backwards. It's funny because do you remember towards the sort of tail end of Lopetegui's spell, West Ham, the guy looked like he was living on the streets, didn't he? Looked homeless. Potter yesterday, his hair was all over the shop. He looked like you're right. He looked like he had a probably row in the dressing room or something. He clearly weren't happy.
I wonder if these managers, Chris, if they take on the West Ham job, thinking, "Oh, that'd be a nice little job," and then they suddenly realise that it's a bit of a bigger job than perhaps they thought. On paper, you look at the players and you sort of say, "Oh, I could do something with them players, right?" You would, and I think that's been the last two managers have thought that. But anyway, look, let's talk about it. Before we go there, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please could you, the Bobby Moore Stand, here on YouTube, give the video a like, please, and hit the bell notification icon. I think it's healthy to do these sort of shows a day after because I would have been bloody miserable last night. Last thing I wanted to do is talk about football last night. I got to be honest.
Yeah.
So I weren't going to put myself through it. We're going to put you through it either, Chris. Giving out smoking.
I want to put me through it. Mate. Honestly, even today, I'm still a little bit, but I'm not as bad as I was yesterday. In truth, I'm not. I do tend, like it was last week, having that 24-hour period to calm down and digest things and maybe try and break it down in a bit more sense. Well, we try to at least anyway. Can't do that straight after the game. I find it really difficult to. I'm too emotional. Yeah, and I'm too irrational in my thoughts as well. So,
Totally. I always have stupid ideas after a game, right? Stupid ideas. I want everyone sacked. Everyone, get rid of a lot of them. Fuck them all, right?
Yeah.
Good evening, everybody in the chat and everybody else who's watching. We'll come to some chat comments later, but before we get there, I just want to first of all talk about the game, and then we'll go through the post-match interview because it was post-match, right? So the selection. What did you think of the selection? 3-4-3, 3-5-2, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it's what I expected. In terms of the actual formation, it's what I expected. With regards to the actual lineup specifically, again, disappointed. Obviously, how you don't start Fulkrug is beyond me. Obviously, that's got to be as a result of what happened last week with Fulkrug speaking up.
He denied that.
Yeah, well, he's going to deny it, isn't he? Of course he is. He's not going to say, "Oh, yeah, that's the reason why." He's not going to do that. And yeah, the other thing that really kind of frustrated me was seeing JWP in the midfield again. Don't know why he's there, mate. I just don't get that. I'm sure we'll talk about that. But aside from that, I suppose no real surprises. No, just Fulkrug and JWP for me with the key and pivotal ones.
Yeah, no. We'll do the player ratings at the end as well. That won't take very long. I thought first half, up until 13 minutes, it was a pretty, the thing is, up till about 7 or 8 minutes, I think we were pressing quite well and we looked like we were knocking the ball about with pace. The one thing that irritated me was when we were knocking the ball about with pace, it got to the middle and then Ward-Prowse would literally just slow it down. Yeah. Slow it down. They're zipping the ball to each other. Ward-Prowse, extra touch and fucking slow, deliberate pass. Yeah.
As he always does, mate. This is not just yesterday. This is every single game that he plays. He slows it down. Even when the game is ridiculously slow already, he still slows it down remarkably even more. It's just Oh God, yeah.
Anyway, look, we had our first chance, sort of chance, with AWB inside to Souček after 10 minutes. He hit the side netting. Um, and I think the first goal, I've got to say, it was soft as hell. And I say this about their first and their third goal. And there's something that Ross mentioned to me yesterday is that Brighton are known for long shots, right? They score quite a lot of goals from long shots. But the thing is, I don't think they would. The second one had a lot of curl on it. It was a good shot. But the thing is, if you let someone run towards your goal, take a couple of touches, look up, line the shot up, pick their spot, and then side foot it into the top corner, there's something severely wrong with your midfield.
Yeah, I agree with you, actually. I think there's a big distinguishing factor there between side footing a shot and just levering it. You know, when you get a lot of players, you just smack it, half chance, smack it. But yeah, when they've got that much time to try, as you say, kind of take on the instep and just kind of trying to bend it in, you just think, fuck me, why are we not posting them down? It's a fair point. I don't. I mean, that's the thing. You know, a lot of people turning around and saying, well, we've been beaten by 2 world-class strikes today.
No. They were training ground strikes. They were training ground strikes, right? They were well executed, Chris. But like you just said, both of those was exactly the same situation. The first one especially so because literally no one went near him. At least Bowen made an effort for the third. Turned his back on it disappointingly, but he made an effort to shut him down. The first guy, no one really made an effort. I mean, I think it probably should have been Paqueta and or Kudus. That was probably Paqueta more than likely.
I think the third one was Paqueta, actually.
The third one was. Yeah. But anyway, look, I mean, it's a good take, but I thought it was an average goal. I wasn't going to go overboard about it because, to be honest, when you got no pressure on you and you can place a ball like that, any decent Premier League footballer with an ounce of tactical nous should be able to get it there or thereabouts, right? And the keeper was well beaten. And from that point on, we kind of lost our shit for a little bit. Then we started getting back into it, and I think there was an attempt on 32 minutes where Souček, it was a save onto the bar. That was a pretty good take from him, I think. And then that was it for the first half. 1-0 down, and we thought, well, here we go again. And then, lo and behold, in true West Ham style, second half starts and bang, 1-1. A magnificently average take from Kudus, but nonetheless, it ended up in the back of the net, celebrating. So 1-1. It was a great bit of work from Jared Bowen actually in that goal, and things started to look up. We started to press. We were doing some all right things, I think there was 60 minutes. Aaron Wan-Bissaka had that shot down to the keeper had to save after a set up from Paqueta, and Paqueta played all right as well. Kudus played all right as well, but obviously not in the defensive period. I'm talking about in the attacking area of the pitch. And then dreams, Chris, dreamland, 2-1 up, 83 minutes, and a Peter Osgood style. Swooping diving header from Thomas Souček as he planted the ball into the back of the net. Really great header, actually. Really good.
It was.
He certainly knows how to finish, doesn't he?
Yeah, it was a great header. Yeah, great header, absolutely. And I think at that point as well, you kind of think that, wait a minute, we're gonna hold this out. We're gonna get the win here. We're gonna get the 3 points. I think even obviously we didn't go to the game yesterday. I was watching it on the telly, but even the commentators were saying, "Oh yeah, great win away for West Ham." Commentators curse really, saying that a little bit too early.
Why did he have to say that? He have to say that? But one thing I noticed as well was for the Kudus goal, was the defender Dunk, I think it was busy watching Fulkrug, and he let Kudus go.
Yeah, he was. He was on a fast stick, wasn't he? Yeah, I think he was. Yeah, just him being there, his presence alone makes a difference, and I think you could see that in the second half because as soon as you put Bowen on that right-hand side and you have a focal point up front in Fulkrug, it just changes the whole shape and dynamic of our team. We do look like we have a little bit more of a threat. Absolutely. We can get up the final third of the pitch a lot more quicker because Fulkrug can hold it up and play the other boys in. We just looked better, didn't we? We did. And it's so frustrating, though, Gar, because you talk about the first half. Why? I mean, we know why, but for fuck's sake, Potter, just play Fulkrug, play a striker. Like, what are you honestly thinking? Because we've seen how this plays out when we do not play a striker. When we play Bowen up front, we just play him and Kudus essentially as our furthest forward attacking players. It doesn't work out too well for us. We need someone up there with a bit of physicality and presence. Why he did that is so annoying. And honestly, if I travelled to that game, and I know a lot of people that did travel to that game, I'd be fuming about that. I was fuming about it from home. I mean, regardless, I'm fuming about it because it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. I really do.
No, I didn't agree with it. I didn't agree with it mainly because whether it was down to his fitness or whatever, it was tone deaf because it was obvious that people were going to put two and two together and come up with a reason why he was dropped. And so, if I was him and I didn't want to put that message inside people's heads, I would have picked him. And the West Ham fans, the away fans, who are notoriously patient and ever supportive of the team, they sort of went for it in a big way. They were singing Nicholas Füllkrug, he says what he wants. The German was right, we're fucking shit, and get the German on the pitch all the way through the first half. So not a good look and probably not a good feel for Potter either. But I think that's self-inflicted. So I don't blame the fans for doing it. I probably would have joined in if I was there as well. And this is where it kind of all went wrong because Vladimir Coufal was brought on. I immediately assumed that he was going to go right and Wan-Bissaka was going to go left. But to my surprise, he went over to the left. Now, looking back at the goals, the equaliser from Matoma, that wasn't, Matoma getting away from Coufal. In fact, it was a mistake by Coufal over the other side in losing the winger, basically, the guy who headed it back across.
Brighton moved their wingers over. You noticed that, right? So as soon as Coufal went left back, they got their left winger over on the right-hand side to go up against him because they knew it'd probably be easier going up against Coufal than it would be going up against AWB. So it's almost like, as soon as Potter made that change, their gaffer was like, you know what? We can counter that.
But this wasn't a deficiency of pace or anything like that. It was just really, really bad play from Coufal, right? He was about 5 yards, 6, 7 yards away from that guy who headed the ball across. He tried to half-heartedly shut him down and got caught in no man's land between him and Mitsuma. And fuck knows where our three centre-halves went.
He's not a left back though. I mean, what the fuck are we playing? Why are we bringing him on for bearing in mind how much time was left of the game? No, I know that he's a professional football player, so he should be doing better than that. But for goodness sake, I mean, how much time was left of the game? And you bring in Coufal on and stick him in the wrong position as well. I don't. There's no logic behind that whatsoever. There is logic if you actually have Coufal playing at right wing back and you have or right back and you have AWB on the left hand side. Absolutely, because he can do a job there. But keeping him there makes no sense at all. It doesn't.
No, it was to me a pointless substitution because even a knackered Emerson is probably quicker than a fresh Vlad, right?
Yeah.
And he's used to playing left back. So I thought that was it could have been Potter thinking, I know what I'll do now. Bit worried about Emerson. I'm going to put some experience on to lock it up because there's only a few minutes to go. What could possibly happen? Either way, he won't do that again. And it backfired horribly because he got caught in no man's land between Matoma and the guy that headed it back across. But then our centre-halves just went AWOL. I mean, where were they?
Well, that was Kilman's man. You got Matoma, was one of the smallest players.
Yeah, it was Kilman's man. And he's standing there.
He got caught ball watching, didn't he? He kind of moved towards the ball.
Yeah.
And he's just left his man behind him. Mitoma, one of the smallest guys on the pitch, to go and head it in. I mean, it's just that kind of typifies how bad our defense is right now, particularly how bad Kilman's playing. I mean, it's all
he had
can't defend like that.
He had nobody 6 foot either side of him. He was completely free, a completely free header. It was criminal. You can't defend like that in the Premier League and hope to get away with it. So, it was at least 2 mistakes. It was Vlad and Kilman, but as we went on to see in the third goal, this is where they made mistakes en masse. It was shocking. I watched the match of the day review of the mistakes, and pretty much I've covered what happened there with the second goal. That was terrible defending. The third one was god awful fucking defending. I mean, Bowen gets it out for a corner, right? As they're taking the corner, they freeze frame it. All 3 of our centre halves are facing towards the goal and not looking at the ball, just walking gently towards the fucking goal as the ball's being swung in, right? What are they thinking? What the fuck are they thinking? It gets headed out. It goes to Baleba, who all right, he does it a blinding strike at the end, but he never should have been allowed to get that strike away. He had all the time in the world, just like the guy with the first one. Yeah, he looks fucking good, but to me, it's like shooting a ball at an empty net. You know,
No one's closing him down. There's nothing at all. There's nothing there. I know.
Yeah.
It's shocking. It's absolutely shocking. I cannot believe that we're notorious for it this season, right? I mean, conceding goals in the final 5-10 minutes of the game is just a joke. I mean, it really is getting. It's getting
time now, right?
It's getting fucking stupid. I mean, it was conceding goals at the beginning of games.
Yeah.
We're now doing it at the end of games as well. But how you cannot see that out? Like at the very least for a draw. Do you know what I mean? At the very least for a draw it's unacceptable, mate. I'm sorry, it is. That's just. I know they were good strikes. Yes, they were. But for goodness sake, I mean, you cannot defend the second one, right? You cannot defend the second one, the equaliser. That for me is just pathetic. It really is.
Well, I'll tell you what a good strike is. A good strike, a stunning strike, is like Manuel Lanzini when he's being shut down by the whole Spurs team and he just gets a fucking boot on it and it flies into just off the underneath the crossbar. When you're allowed to just relax, set up, look up, pick your spot and just bend it in as a Premier League footballer, I'm telling you, 8 times out of 10, you're going to hit the target. It's like an open goal.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree with you. Yeah, I mean, that's the difference, right? You can't really say they're world-class strikes. Lanzini's one, that was world-class because he had all the pressure, as you say, had all the pressure on him. Absolutely spanked that one. But this one here, he side-footed it. It wasn't going in with a great deal of pace. Goalkeeper's rooted. It's not even fucking moving. I mean, it's just, it is awful, mate. It's absolutely awful. And who do you blame, Gal? Who do you blame on all of this stuff? For goodness sake.
Well, I can blame several people there. Firstly, the centre halves were not paying attention, right? They were not paying attention. And secondly, it took Bowen was the only one to react and make an effort to shut the guy down. Literally, no one else moved, and we had 11 men behind the ball. 11 men behind the ball. Only Bowen reacted out of those 11 men, and he didn't get there in time, and he turned his back, which was fucking stupid. Yeah, really. Yeah. I mean, take it in the face, Jared. Take it in the face.
You actually mentioned about walking, right? Players walking, and I'm seeing that a lot at the moment. Not everyone, but there are a few people that you do see literally walking around the pitch. And that, I mean, it is genuinely like they're on the beach already, Gal. That's how it feels, and that's exactly what it seems like when you watch this team at the moment. You get moments, right? You do get moments. Like, for instance, yesterday, I thought Kudus played better yesterday than he had done previously in the previous week. You could see he was getting stuck in.
To a point, Chris, I mentioned to you on the WhatsApp that why is he always taking one too many touches when last year, you know, that one where he's played through, which turned out to be onside. Had he not taken the other touch and he'd shot early, he gets that ball away. He lets the geezer get in and make the tackle, and he did that about 3 times in the first half. So yes, he's more involved. And maybe
I think he was trying. He was trying a bit harder yesterday as opposed to last week against Southampton. That I could see a noticeable difference. I must admit, though, I do think, and I know you called out Bowen as having he done okay. I mean, I kind of feel that he's getting a bit greedy, Gal. I do. There was a moment in the first half where he had an opportunity. And he had Kudus, I think, on the right-hand side. He didn't even look up to see him play him in. He could have done that. And there's been quite a few moments like that. So it's not just Kudus, it's Bowen. There's moments where I just think they take one or too many two touches. They do not look around them. Their awareness is piss poor about where their teammates are. All comes down to chemistry and everything else, right? But there's nothing there. I don't know if it's greediness or what. I don't know what it is. But there's just no kind of like cohesion there between our midfield and our attack at all, is there? Nothing.
No. There isn't. And I... The thing is, when I say Bowen played well, he set that goal up quite well.
He did.
That aside, I think he flatters to deceive a lot, and he's had a pretty poor season, Bowen. I know he's got a decent number of goals and decent number of assists, but fucking hell, someone had to, didn't they?
Yeah.
And he gets in the more attacking positions than literally anyone else. He does, he's done all right on a return basis. He's returned some 10 goals plus so many assists, so not bad return for such a terrible season. But from a form perspective, he's a lot better than that. And I think we're seeing half and half performances. It's like part of their responsibility, like it or not, is to defend. And Kudus and Paqueta are not really defending much. When Paqueta used to love the defending side of the game. He used to love getting stuck in, didn't he? Doesn't seem to do it anymore. Now, what he seems to have done, Potter, he's come in, he's set up the defence, and we're defending really well and hardly letting any goals in. And then we decide to start pushing forward a little bit. And we have scored more goals of late, and we've looked better going forward, like we've got more of an idea. But suddenly there's no fucking discipline in defence anymore.
Yeah, no, well, there isn't. I don't think there has been for a while, to be honest with you. I know that it kind of got better under Potter when he first came in, but at the moment it just seems completely in disarray. It does. They just switch off at key moments. The concentration level is not there. It really isn't, and you can see that for pretty much, I would say, arguably all 3 goals we conceded yesterday. You know, you can make that harder for Brighton. You know, i.e., as we're already kind of pointed out, closing down those players on the edge of the box when the corners come in or whatever for these 30, 40 yard
100%.
shots. I mean, it's bloody ridiculous. We should close these down a lot quicker. It's all defensive errors, mate. But, you know, again, like you put, and I think in your thumbnail, you put down self-inflicted. It absolutely is self-inflicted, because putting Soufal on, I mean, fuck's sake. I mean, what are you honestly?
We shot ourselves in both feet. Now, if I'm Potter, I would be firstly taking the blame for putting Vlad on, but secondly, I would be blaming Vlad for not playing like a professional footballer, and also those 3 centre halves who have completely fucked him. Right? Yeah. They've completely let him down and fucked him. All 3 of them. They don't care. They don't care. None of them. You know,
he's also culpable for fucking not playing Fulkrug, Gal. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, he is.
That for me, as far as I'm concerned, right? I look at it from the very beginning before the whistle was blown, and you look at that lineup, you're like, well, he's got that wrong. I'm not happy about that. I'm no expert, but I'm sorry. I'm pretty much sure the vast majority of West Ham fans would have seen that lineup yesterday and said, "Where the fuck is our striker? Why is Fulkrug not playing?" We can guess the reasons why, but really, he should be playing. I'm sorry, he should. There's no excuse for that. No. Like I said before, we know what we get if we don't play a striker. We have to play him. And if you're that bothered about playing Fulkrug because of what he said last week, then fucking throw Danny Ings up front. Just get an actual striker up there. Just get a striker up there, because we spoke about, you just mentioned about Bowen not having a good season. Again, a lot of that is probably down to the fact he's been playing out of position as well. I mean, he's not been in a great deal of form, but to be fair to him, I think him playing up front, I don't think he's a waste of time in many respects. He can do a job there, but you're taking away probably about 30-40% of his game sometimes when you play him up there. You need to have him on the right, and it makes such a big difference when you see him there on the right. So I'm sorry, if I'm Potter, you absolutely would blame the players, because they should be more professional. They should be a lot more dedicated. They should be a lot more concentrated across the whole 90 minutes plus. But he's the guy that's made the call to play those players yesterday. You know, some of those decisions were absolutely incorrect.
Completely. But let's go back to facts, right? The first goal was not because he didn't play Fulkrug. The fact we didn't score in the first half might have been down to the fact he didn't play Fulkrug. The other 2 goals were, you know, Fulkrug was on the pitch. It's down to midfield and defence, as it always is, right? As it always is. It's just players are not, and I don't know whether they're on the beach or not, but they better fucking get off the beach in time for next week. Spurs just got rumped by.
I watched Liverpool. That today. That was the only plus from my weekend, to be honest with you, was watching him getting smashed 5-1 today.
That would be the fucking, you know, the cherry on the icing on the cake would be to fucking not beat Spurs at home when they're so bad.
Yeah.
Right. We put a fucking cherry on such the worst season ever, in my view. This is worse than seasons where we got relegated.
Yeah, because at least you could actually pinpoint certain performances where you're like, you know what, I really enjoyed that game. There were certain games that you really enjoyed. I can't really think of any this season. Can't.
I
honestly can't.
I think Newcastle away was good. I think the Villa away performance was good. Liverpool away performance, the Arsenal away performance was good. They're all away,
of course.
All away from
there's
them,
a few, there's a few, but there's certainly, you know, at home there's been nothing. There's been absolutely nothing, and overall in general, it's been a nothing season. So there's nothing for us to take out of this season. As Graham Potter said in his post-match interview yesterday, there are no positives. I mean, he's saying there are positives.
Well,
sorry,
I'm going to put that on. I'm going to put that on now. So if you haven't seen the Potter interview, I mean, I watched it again earlier, and I was quite shocked watching it a day after, actually, how you know, it clearly been in the dressing room and he was still fuming, absolutely fuming about what had gone on. But he did resist saying names. There were a few little barbed comments in there. But yeah, listen to it and judge it for yourself. I took quite a lot from this the second time around. Here we go.
So last week was the late equaliser to Southampton, and then this week worse. How do you affect that happening again?
Well, it's football. We did a lot well in the game, but the pain at the moment is pretty hard. The lads are devastated. We're all devastated. We're unable to sustain what we need to do to win games in the Premier League at the moment. That's the reality. We've been in winning positions or good positions for a few games, and we haven't been able to hold on for different reasons. So we have to accept, or not accept, but we have to, there's nothing we can do. It's the feeling we have now is the feeling we have now.
I think you just said there for different reasons, but I remember last week the reasons you were kind of giving for the equaliser were like perhaps having the physical capacity to kind of get out and stop that equaliser happening. Did you see the same things happening again?
Yeah, it's not totally down to that, but yeah, there is that for sure. There's a physical requirement in this league. There's a demand in this league that you have to be so fit, so physically strong, so mentally strong to see out winning situations in difficult places, Goodison Park and Anfield and here. So we weren't able to do it. So that, of course, that focuses everything's focused on that. And it's a shame because there was lots of good things in the game, but I can't really take any solace from the good things in the game because we've lost.
I'm sure you would have heard the chants from the fans during the first half about Fulkrug and getting him on the pitch and says what he wants and Germany's right. Can you understand their kind of sentiment? What did you make of the songs?
They're entitled to sing whatever they want. That's it.
Was your decision to leave Fulkrug out based on his television interview?
No.
Greg, because the team's conceded 5 times late since February, is it almost like a fear among the players? Like it's happened so much previously, like could happen again?
Probably, yeah. They're human. Psychologically, if you've been through this bit, you can feel it. They're in a bad situation in terms of the season we're having. So there's a lot of baggage there. And, you always play good teams in the Premier League. So playing against a strong opponent that will obviously push and push and push at home. One goal's never enough. So I'm just going to throw cliches at you, but it's not. And you have to sustain the good things and see out the times when it's getting tough, and we weren't able to do that.
In terms of just addressing it and hope it doesn't happen again, what do you backroom staff reckon you have to do to prevent and address the late goals?
Well, we have to analyse the game back. We have to look at how we can support the players in the back end of the game, what substitutions we can make to maybe shut up shop or to change things. There's always things we can do. But in the end, the players are there as well. I'm having to answer these questions, but there's players on the pitch.
But in terms of the positives, Kudus scored his first goal.
There's lots of positives, but no one wants to hear positives.
What there were?
No, it doesn't matter. Sick of talking about positives.
So just on that, what one told the player just now in the dressing room?
We have to stick together because it's a tough last 4 weeks, and we have to be together.
Very much. What did your thoughts on how it was like back here at the Albion the second time here with a different coach? And also, were you sort of surprised at the energy levels they had in that last 10 minutes of the game? Before you came in, Fabian Herzler was talking about the game plan they had at that last 10-minute period to work on that.
Whenever you win, you're a genius and you've got all these game plans. I don't know, I can't speak about Brighton.
Just in terms of the way the match went, it seemed that the system itself seemed to work. It felt like many of the chances you created came from the system, and particularly the width that you were able to get, especially on the right hand side, particularly with Jared and Aaron. Is that one thing at least that you could hold on to, that the players really seem to be understanding the system that you're playing and you're getting some joy for it?
Honestly, I don't feel like I want to speak about anything positive because I'm in too much pain to talk about positives, because no one wants to hear positives. But there were some. Of course there were. There were lots. I'm not stupid. But we've lost. 2 goals have gone in from 35 metres. congratulations to Brighton. We're suffering.
Okay.
So like, as we mentioned, West Ham haven't come back and won a game this season. Do you think it's just a psychological factor, or what are the factors and what are you going to work on going forward to make sure that you come back from losing positions?
As I said before, there's a psychological element. There's an ability to sustain what's required at a Premier League level. We were close to coming back from a goal down, and took the lead, which I don't know whether we've done that before. Have we done that before?
Sure, this season.
But yeah, we have a lot of work to do.
Graham, I haven't seen this frustrated like since.
Well, I'm going to be frustrated, huh? Yeah. Of course I am. I'm not not a robot. I'm a human being as well. I stand there myself, give everything to this, what I'm doing. Of course I'm going to be upset. Of course I'm going to be frustrated. I have to come here and speak calmly to you guys. But that's not how I'm feeling inside. If you want me to swear, I can swear.
Okay, guys, we'll leave it there. Thank you. Cheers.
Fucking hell. That was dramatic, wasn't it? That was dramatic. I mean, he was fucking fuming, wasn't he?
Well, yeah, he was, and so he knows how we feel as well as fans.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he looks broken, Gal, but it's not just so much that he looks broken. He looks like he's scratching his head, as in, I'm worried that he doesn't know. Well, I think he'll know where there are problems, clearly. I mean, that's kind of obvious to see. But I don't know how he thinks he's going to make changes to kind of combat that, because I don't know if just the players, like I said before, in general, not all of them, have down tools a bit, already on the beach, whatever it is. So I think he knows that. I'm sure he knows that, because you can see the anger there. And I think the anger is, I think he realizes he probably made some mistakes, but equally the players made a shit ton of mistakes as well, particularly, that final 5 minutes of the game.
Yeah. I think this is what one of the things I took from it as well is I actually much prefer, this is Russ Leahy, who says, I actually much prefer the honesty of this interview over the waffle that's becoming the norm. I'm hopeful that he can turn these things around. The substitution was on him, but the players must step up. Yeah, the substitution was definitely on him, but I don't forgive the players for what they did. They fucking they just fucking gave up for the fourth game, right? They did that against Bournemouth, sort of Southampton, the slightest bit of pressure. They drop back inside their own box and they invite pressure on. It's like watching West Ham of old, when we used to fucking just drop back and invite other teams on. And then the other one was Everton, where, again, a couple of minutes to go, we couldn't hold on. And then Liverpool, we couldn't hold on. There was one more as well. Was it Bournemouth?
Honestly, Gal, I've lost track of it all, Gal. Honestly, I've lost track of
all these late goals.
Yeah, I think the thing that really kind of bothers me as well is the mentality of the players. Because if you look at the league, they know that we're safe. We've got, I suppose from their perspective, although I would argue this, that we've got nothing to play for. I think that we do. We've got pride, always got pride, and they've got to play for the fans. Okay, they've got to. So I don't like the mentality collectively of that team, because for me, that's not a winning mentality. It's like, right, we'll turn up, doing a half-assed job and get home and just, do you know what I mean? Let's see the season out. I don't like that mentality. We need to instill a winning mentality with these players, because even if we are 17th in the table, we should be going out there and fighting every single game, week on week. But we're not doing that at the moment. We're just not. Yeah. We might fight for a spell of the game, but I'm talking 100% throughout the duration of the 90+ minutes. That's what we need to be doing. And we're not. Potter needs to get them playing. He needs to get them playing. And I just personally, like I said to you the other day, I really do think that he needs to make wholesale changes now. Like, get rid of a few of those players, just shove them on the bench. Let them know who's in control here. Let them know who's boss. So at least that way he can bring in maybe one or two fringe players. I would not be against playing Andy Irvine. I would not be against getting Lewis Orford in, some of the youngsters in, because like I said the other day, they've got something to play for, these boys. They absolutely have, because they've not really had any game time this season, have they? They're very much on the fringe. So Andy Irvine, completely fringe player. Lewis Orford, youngster coming through. Do you honestly think they're not going to come in and fight for the badge? Of course they will. And that's what all we demand as West Ham supporters. So I would like to see him do that. And I want to see him do something quite significant, like a real shock change. So,
this is exactly what This is exactly what Dad's Our Job podcast says here. I chat to post a video today on my thoughts about Potter in brief. PL safety will now be the real start of the squad rebuild. Drop the players who aren't in his plans and give experience to youth. I totally agree with that and what you just said. I mean, these players, they've given up whatever right they had to a place in that first team. A lot of them. I mean, Kilman, what's the point? 40 million quid worth of player. Todibo, 30 odd million, 40 million quid worth of player. You've got Mavropanos as well. I mean, that between the three of them, that's almost 100 million quid worth of centre halves there. And all three of them for that third goal were walking towards the goal very slowly, not even looking at the corner coming in.
Yeah.
How can you excuse that shit? I'd drop all three of them, you know?
It's the Premier League, mate. You can't excuse that at all. You know, we said it. I can't even bother to talk about that defence, you know, the defence at the moment in time, because it's obvious. You know, it's obvious. They're just not switched on enough, are they?
Yeah, or they don't have the stamina, as Dave says. I mean,
how can they not, though, man? I mean, they're professional footballers. They're training every bloody week. They must have the stamina. I think it's really just a case of not giving a shit. Like I said before, just
they don't give a shit.
They're on the beach, mate.
They fuck. They're already on the beach and they're already on their way out of it, and they know it, right? They know it. So why keep up the pretense? Keep up the pretense and keep playing the fuckers as if they're going to be it next year.
I know. There is no point.
You know, this doesn't help as well. But again, I think like Potter, who's having no influence on a lot of these players. I mean, look, to give him credit, Paqueta's improved under Potter, but other than that, I don't think many of them have. You know, how can you compare, really? I mean, they've been AWB's improved, I guess. He's been even better than he was under Thingy. Ward Prowse is the same Ward Prowse we let go. He's just irritating. You know, I don't even want to.
Why are we playing him, right? This is the thing that really fucking annoys me. Sorry, I feel like I'm trying to keep my karma a little bit, and I think I have so far. But with Ward Prowse, I don't understand how he gets into that team week after week after week. Don't forget, I don't. Oh, you can say this.
I do.
Why?
I do, because I think there are a lot of players in that team who are not following instructions, and even though he's a bit shit, he does follow instructions and do it.
By playing it backwards and sideways. That's what Potter wants.
Well, that's what that. No. But that is James Ward-Prowse. You ain't going to get something else out of James Ward-Prowse, are you?
I don't give a shit. Like, if he's being told what to do, he's shit. Do you know what I mean? He's fucking shit. He's playing awful, and it's impacting. It's it's not his fault only, right? I'm not putting the sole blame on him, but it does have a massive impact on our team. I'm sorry, it really does, because it's like playing with 10 men when you played with James Ward-Prowse sometimes. It is.
Well,
how can you not play?
But I ain't hanging that game on Ward-Prowse, though. Because
I'm not. I just said I'm not. I just said I'm not. But I am hanging, like, you know, a lot of our bad performances and losses probably on the fact that we do not pick the right midfield. We don't. Our midfield's shocking. So you try and nullify the threat as much as you can. Why do we not? I play Soler over him. I play Andy Irving over him. Honestly, I play Lewis Alford over him, because he's not shown anything more than what those other boys could add to the team. I'm sorry, he's not. We saw Andy Irving against Chelsea. Are you telling me, like, that performance Andy Irving put against Chelsea is worse than what JWP has been putting in over the last 3-4 weeks? It's not at all. Not at all. Play him instead, then.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I don't know how he played. He did pretty well against Chelsea, and then he never got another look in. I don't know what happened there.
Well, we got more players back from injury. You know, we had more available to pick from. Look, I'm not disputing the fact that I think JWP is a decent player, but he's just not decent for us, Gal. He's not. He was good at Southampton. He's not really good for us. That's the way I look at it. Yeah. He's just a very basic, simple footballer, you know, just backward, sideways, play the easy pass every fucking time. He won't take any. I want someone to take a risk sometimes, you know, and try and get that ball up into the final third of the pitch. He's not that guy. He won't do that. Paqueta might do it. Ward-Prowse won't do it.
This is an interesting question, because I don't know the answer. It's who's holding the defence from stepping out of the area when we have the ball. I don't know. I don't know who's organising that back line. I don't know. I would think Kilman, but I couldn't promise it.
Well, this is the problem. We don't know, because there is no real leader at the back, you know, kind of controlling that defence.
There's no leader anywhere, let's be honest.
Well, no, there isn't. There is no leader there. None at all.
I mean, he wears his heart on his sleeve, and he leads by example, I suppose. Bowen is the sort of thing. But on a pitch, it ain't just leading by example. It's telling other people what to do. You know, when things ain't going right and people ain't holding their discipline, and especially when you got a corner in the last fucking minute and everything else, he should be talking and talking and talking and making sure everything's working. He shouldn't have been the only one. Again, leading by example and running out and trying to shut down that shot. It should have been 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, yeah. But for me, I've always said it, we need a leader in the middle of the park.
Yeah.
That's where I'd always want someone. You know, you look at our captains over the years, like Declan Rice, he was very vocal on the pitch. Mark Noble was very vocal on the pitch. That's what we really miss. You know, you got a captain who is relatively quite in Bowen out on the right wing or up front. How's that message getting across to the rest of the team? That's why I always like someone in the middle of the park to actually be the captain.
I agree. Even if he was vocal, what's the point in having a vocal right winger?
Yeah, because you can't bloody hear him. You won't be able to hear him, would you? You know, I can imagine, like, you look at some of our youngsters coming in. Like, I remember when Noble broke into the team, and I'm not, you know, not everyone is like Mark Noble in terms of leadership ability. But I remember when he got into the team, I remember when he played against Spurs in that 4-3 game, right? And he was putting in challenges left, right, and centre. He was shouting like he'd been playing in the, you know, in the team for years, like he was an established seasoned pro. We need players with that mentality, like Declan Rice. He did the same sort of thing as well. So I just personally feel that there's got to be other options that we've got. And I think there are other options that we've got over JWP, for instance.
It was Alvarez was the other option. I don't know what's happened to Alvarez. There must have been a falling out there, right?
He weren't even on the bench, was he? So yeah, either that or he's injured. But I think it's probably the latter, mate. I think he has fallen out.
But I think he's absolutely right. What Mandy says here, you know, you got to have a captain either in the centre of defence or in the centre of midfield, preferably centre of midfield.
Yeah,
you've got to have. You know, he's not Premier League standard, but as somebody just said, he always gives 100%. That's why he plays, and I guess that's why Souček plays. Having said that, Souček did all right yesterday in the second half, not so much in the first half. No, Bowen is never in the ref's ear. I hate that anyway, but he should be doing it. Kilman, I don't know. I think he was all right for Wolves, but Wolves were laughing at us when we paid 40 million. Fact is, Lopetegui made it a prerequisite that player was signed. He wanted him, and so Wolves could name their price. So thanks for that, Loppy, and for making Bowen captain, because that gives us a real fucking difficult situation to unpick, doesn't it?
I just don't know where we go from here into the next game. To be honest with you, I don't. Honest, I say it all the time. I'm just losing the will to live with West Ham right now. I really am. Yeah,
so am I. So let's. I mean, a couple of things he said there. He said, "Is it like this?" He was asked a question. It's quite a good question. Do you think it'll happen again? I think, and he said, "Well, probably, yeah." You know, and he said, and at one point he answered the question in such a way as, well, it ain't me, there's players on the pitch as well, you know. And that's the first time I've heard him point the finger at the players like that. And I think that is a healthy thing to do. I do think it is. You've got to call the fuckers out, right? If I was, you know, you imagine if 3 centre halves had let Mourinho down like that, he'd have been naming them in the presser afterwards, wouldn't he?
Shit, wouldn't he? Yeah, of course he would do. Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I hope that's not you advocating Mourinho comes in.
No, fuck no. We'll be doing Mourinho out in 3 months, right?
3 weeks.
Vice captain Obsidian says in midfield, Bowen leads by example. The vice can be the boss. Yes. And I said the other day, it was just a suggestion. It's difficult to take a captaincy away from someone like Bowen, who's committed his whole career to West Ham, and he's an England international, right? So what you should do is make him club captain and make someone else on-field captain. Make him club captain for as long as he's here. That'd be fine, because that's like the face of the club, right? Let him be the face of the club. He deserves it, right? No,
I don't know. I just, like I said the other day, mate, I just feel like we gave the captaincy to the wrong person. Love Bowen, but he's not the right guy for the captaincy. I don't know who is, but he's certainly not Bowen. This is why I hate the situation that Lopetegui put us in, because we have to have this conversation. Exactly what Kat says. I feel uncomfortable having this conversation, so I'm trying to figure ways out. I'm trying to figure ways out for him that keep him, you know, satisfy his ego. Not that he's got much of an ego, but be the club captain, that kind of thing for the rest of your career, and the on-field captain will be whoever. Yeah, I mean, it's I suppose, looking at it objectively, it's easy to blame the captain and say, well, yeah, he's not very good captain. He's not vocal because we're not putting the right level of performances and people aren't dedicated or working hard enough. It's easy to put the finger on the captain, but actually, I've said this all along. there should be 11 captains out on that, out on the field, because they are all professional football players that should be wearing their heart on their sleeves and giving everything, right? Leading each and every one of them by example, individually and collectively. That's what should be happening, irrespective of whether Bowen's got the armband or not. They should all be leading. But the problem, though, is that but there are no one. I mean, when you talk about people that are vocal in our team, you look out defence. I cannot think of a single person I think is vocal. I can't. AWB, absolutely not. Kilman, no. Mavropanos, fuck no. Tadibo, definitely not. And then obviously Emerson. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right, and then you look at the midfield. Really, the only person.
Paqueta's vocal.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think he's.
I wouldn't want to make him captain.
Full Suchek, maybe Suchek
captain.
Probably Suchek, Gal. Probably Suchek is the only one, and that's really fucking. Do you know what I mean? Like,
well,
clutching at straws.
I think he's got quite a good record as captain. You know that when he's stepped in. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know whether Fulkrug could be here long or not. I mean, I would think probably not, to be honest.
I don't think he will, because next season, surely we're going to make it a priority to get a striker in, someone that's actually going to be fit, rather than hang out.
We need more than one. I know that. Perfect backup striker, right?
But you're going to be captain, I'm saying, Gal. All I'm saying is I don't think that would ever be a feasible option, because he won't be our starting striker, in theory. He shouldn't be.
Yeah, Suchek, he's not the same as Bowen. He was actually an half-decent captain in that game or two that he led. I think we won one of those games.
Isn't he captain for the Czech Republic? I think he is.
Yeah, he's not bad. He was organising, and he is quite vocal. He ain't like Bowen. Bowen he's got a quite introverted demeanour, isn't he? There's nothing wrong with that, but it just means that it's just yet another error that Lopetegui made. And look, I know Jared's proud of it and everything else, but I think you got to look at what's good for the team. Maybe if we can sign some other captains as well. You would have thought that you'd be getting a leader at centre half for 40 million, wouldn't you? You would have thought we'd assign 2 leaders for the money they cost.
Yeah,
Tadibo and Kilman, but neither of them are leaders.
I think it was kind of evidently clear that we needed a leader in that team, because even when Zuma was captain, he wasn't really a great captain. So when he went, obviously, you kind of look at that team and you must be thinking to yourself, right, who's going to step up and genuinely be a contender as captain? Because you must admit, like, even at the beginning of this season, just before Lopetegui took charge, we didn't know. We didn't really know, because there was no standout candidates. There was only default kind of options based on, okay, well, he's been here for 5 or 6 years, he should be captain. But there was no standout, kind of candidates for captaincy, because there's no one that really does actually stand out as being leadership material. So surely it should have been down to, the club to actually identify, as you've said, people that will come in and lead.
What do you reckon about this? I know what you're going to say, but what do you reckon about this? Areola is also an issue because he's not vocal, right? People don't want Ramsdale, but he's a perfect fit for us. Vocal, great agility, pacey, across the goal line, distribution is good. Areola is just a shot stopper. I do think he's better than Areola, I've got to say, and I think he fits the type. I don't think he's the best in class by a long way, but I don't think we'd do any worse with him.
I mean, I'm kind of inclined to disagree, because I think I know Areola's got his weaknesses. I don't know. Ramsdale. Okay, so Ramsdale actually, in terms of on the deck, he's very good with his feet. His distribution is really good, and that's something that we've been lacking. We all know that. But I don't think he's a better shot stopper than Areola. I actually don't. Yeah. So it's almost like what you want is a combination of an Areola and a Ramsdale together. Someone that actually technically is pretty good with their feet, good in terms of distribution, but also a very good shot stopper. And I feel like if you take Areola out the equation, you're getting someone who's actually good, in terms of his distribution, but not as good as a shot stopper as Areola. So it's like, I don't know. I'm not having him. He's a relegator, mate. I don't fucking want him. We're almost like
I bet Danny Dyer would be a good captain. I'll tell you what, right? Danny Dyer does really well is caravan adverts. He's done a caravan advert on TikTok. I
saw that.
Priceless.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
What did he say at the end? He said, I've got to go to the cars here. I'm not going to go to one in the bedroom. I'm not an animal. I'm not a monster. Or something like that.
Yeah, I did see that the other day.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, Ramsdale is great at everything but saving shots, which ain't great for a keeper. Yeah. So a keeper with all feet and no hands. At the moment, we've got one with all hands and no feet. Can we have a set? Can we have one with a full set of limbs?
There are so many. It's not just goalkeeper though, Gary.
Ramsgate. Yeah, Ramsgate is pure renegade. I think like the keeper position, I think Fabianski and Areola, I just think they're both really, really expensive. I think you get rid and you get a couple of younger keepers in because we've got a young keeper coming through as well, who could be maybe a number 2 or a number 3. But it must be, you must be able to get a first choice keeper, like we were saying the other week, for 20 million, 30 million, and then bring in a championship keeper as backup or something like that, like we did with what's his name, the little guy who loved it at West Ham and saved the Frank Lampard penalty. Yeah, he was a decent little keeper.
Hey, look, I know that we do need a better goalkeeper, but I still don't see that as the priority. I know that you and I had a disagreement about this the other day. Personally, I just feel that we need to be investing that money more in defence, midfield, and attack rather than the goalkeeper.
Chris, I think it's part of the problem with the defence is that the keeper just fucking is silent, right? He should. He can see what's going on in front of him. He should be fucking telling them. He should be telling them.
Yeah, but as I said before, I think there's other areas in the pitch that for me would be more of a priority than goal. Don't get me wrong, I don't think it's an area that we're strong in. Of course I don't. But I think I would rather invest that money in terms of getting a serious box-to-box midfielder in, or a serious striker, or a serious vocal lead defender with great leadership abilities. That's what I'd much rather invest in.
We do miss an Ogbonna style character. We had loads of leaders at one point, and now we've got none.
We did, actually. Yeah, we did. Yeah, we really did.
And this one about Fulkrug, yes, I think Mr. Anthrop, I think he will have lots of interest in the summer, without a shadow of a doubt. Difficult for anyone to be a captain unless they're central defenders on midfield, what we said earlier. Would rather have Ramsdale as a CDM than a keeper. Yeah. It's quite good. That's a good point. He didn't get relegated from Arsenal. He didn't.
Well done. He didn't get, but he got fucking kicked out of the team, didn't he? So he ain't that great. He's not great, Gal. Honestly, Ramsdale is not the option for us. I'm sorry, he's not the option.
He's doing over caravans down at Laysdown with Danny. Yeah, maybe he is, Claire. Maybe he is. Yes, Leno, the Fulham keeper. Good keeper. Yeah. Leno, get him. I'll tell you what, right? Even though I want to give Potter a chance and everything else, and I'm definitely not saying Potter out. If we did have a chance to get that Fulham manager, I would. I would.
Yeah, well, I just don't think we've got the option at the moment. I think Potter's going to be with us for a little while yet. He will be. So we have to get behind him, and we just have to hope that the players get behind him as well. Because I think the players really are not playing for the manager at this moment in time. In fact, I don't think they've really been playing for any of the managers for a long time as well. So,
is this why Todibo runs around in circles?
Yeah,
he's got one leg 2 inches smaller than the other. David Kelly, our old striker, was like that. It was on the front page of the Sun or the back page of the Sun.
He had a car accident, I think.
I know.
Car accident, something like that.
Yeah, a car accident when he was a kid.
Yeah.
We need Fabiola, so we need a combination of the two. Yeah, a hybrid. We've got 2 keepers who are sort of good at different things, aren't they? Both decent shot stoppers. Both shit at taking crosses, though. No, they're the same. They're the same.
Gal, one thing you've got to remember, though, is when you look at Areola, he was very, very good for us, particularly during our European runs and all that kind of stuff as well, when we had actually a better defence. Yeah. So you can't. So I think if you kind of shore up the defence a little bit, get a better centre half in there, get a better midfielder in there that can help the defence out as well in that CDM role, box to box midfielder. I think then you're going to start seeing a better team rather than just focus too much on Areola.
You're talking Europe, not Premier League, and our defence has been getting caught out in the Premier League for many, many years.
Still don't think it's a priority. Still don't think it's a priority.
Massive priority, Chris. Much bigger than your priorities, right? So
no, it's not. So you'd right. Okay, so all right, let's prioritise this, Gal. Right?
No. No. I'm
interested.
No. It's midfield, striker, keeper, defenders.
So you think a goalkeeper is more important than a solid centre half right now?
No, because I'm not sure who we're going to be selling at the moment. I'm assuming we're not selling Todibo and Kilman, right?
No, Todibo, we just bought him. I think the option was. I think it's now, isn't it? I'm sure it is.
Yeah,
I think it is anyway. But so, where would you prioritise this then? If you look at those positions, if you look at striker, midfield, defence, and then goalkeeper, where would you one to four?
Not on the. Well, look, I don't want to prioritise all of them because I think the priority is central midfield, and it has been since Declan Rice left. Yeah. The next priority, if we keep Fulkrug, if we let Fulkrug go, next with the equal priority of that is another striker.
Yeah.
If we keep Fulkrug, then it's a lower priority. The next, I think they're all the same priority, and that is to make sure we've got a solid defence and we've got with coverage, and we've got a keeper with coverage. Having a 40-year-old keeper, by the way, is another thing that gives a bit of an uptick to our average age. we need to start. You know, it's just pointless, and we're paying him a fortune. When someone's 40, you're just paying through the nose for them.
In fairness, though, Gal, when Fabianski does come in, he still does a decent job for us. He does.
Yeah,
I know he's on a decent wage. I get all of that.
33 years old under Pellegrini. It should have been done by now. He ain't Peter Shilton, right? He ain't paid to play till he's 45 or 50. You know, this is Premier League, modern day Premier League. No one else has got a 40-year-old goalkeeper.
Yeah. Well, anyway, just my thoughts, not my priority, mate. Not me.
Anyway, look, I don't really even want to do fucking player rankings tonight. Why don't we just pick out a couple who we think had decent games?
Well, it's the fucking usual people again, Gal. It's the same players every week, isn't it?
Well,
AWB.
Yeah, AWB was our man of the match, I thought. Again.
Souček as well. I thought he was good.
Souček played well, yeah. Paqueta had a decent game, not defensively, but he had a decent game from an attacking sense. So did Kudus. And should we quickly go through it?
Honestly, I think we've done it. That's it.
Is that
it? I mean, if you look at the defence, not great. Okay, wasn't great yesterday.
No, defence apart from Wan-Bissaka, it'll be getting like 2s and 3s.
Okay, so based off the last 10 minutes, absolutely, it completely takes
they gave the game away.
But midfield wise, I mean, JWP, no, I'm sorry, I'm not even the scored a guy.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's AWB, Souček.
I'd give Bowen probably a 5.5 for the assist. That's about it. Souček could probably get a 6.5, 7. I think AWB would get an 8. I think Paqueta would get a 6 because of the lack of defensive cover. Kudus would get a 6 for taking one too many touches all the time. And Füllkrug, other than that, Füllkrug did all right when he came on again. So I'd give him the sort of average 6. Yeah,
well, he offers a different dimension, doesn't he, when he comes on up front. But that's about it, mate. Honestly, I can't really think of anyone else that I'd say, they did okay. I can't.
No,
it was just very, very average. I'm not seeing anyone pulling up any trees in that team right now, so I'm not going to call anyone out. The only one that does it consistently is AWB. That's the only one for me. I can't think of anyone else.
Have you ever seen a season where one player has been so far ahead of the others for Hammer of the Year?
No, I haven't, because usually there's a close contender, isn't there? For like someone, there's always like a couple of people, and you're trying to. But we said this the other day, didn't we? Like, who would you even have as like your runner-up? I mean, I suppose it's probably only going to be Bowen for his goals by default.
That's probably
about it. Yeah, no one else.
And one final word as well. Right, going back to the Antonio thing from the other night, we cannot give Antonio another year. We can't do it. If we do that, we're just setting ourselves up for shit next year.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, I know I had a bit of a different kind of take on this a month or two back, because I didn't quite realise. I was still thinking that maybe he might even, I don't know, make it back by the end of the season or something. But when you factor in his age and all those other things, the only way I would be, I guess, kind of accept if he was to stay on is if it was like a pay-as-you-play deal or something like that. That'd be as far as I would go.
I don't want it, right? Because I'm pretty certain that he's influential in the dressing room, and not in a good way. So I just want to rid ourselves of this last generation of players.
No, I get that.
I want a fresh start and a new atmosphere in that dressing room. The one thing that always sticks with me with Antonio, I think it was when Haller turned up at the training ground, and he was like the ringleader of this little clique of players, and it was a video that they put out for some reason. And Haller, quite quietly spoken bloke, walked onto the pitch, and he shared a £40 million or £30 million or something like that. He's just taking the piss, right? And you're just thinking, yeah. And I've heard other stories about him as well. Listen, I'm glad he's recovered and he's coming back, but I don't want to see him playing for West Ham again, not in any way, shape, or form.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I'm
good servant. Sorry to be harsh, but this was self-inflicted.
Yeah, I mean, he's been kind of running out of steam, for the last few years now. So he's certainly not, I don't think, at the level that we need now anymore. And you can't just hold on to him just because he had some good years with us. There's some great memories. Got his shirt behind me, so I'm not really slagging him off. Yeah, I'm sticking it back on my wall. So he's like a cult hero at West Ham. He's done a great job.
Yeah. But he's had his time now, and everyone has their time, and we move on to a different time.
Yeah.
and we definitely fucking need to because we've nearly got relegated this year.
Well, there's a concern for next year, mate, as we said the other day. You know, it's a real concern because there's so much that needs to be done. You know, we obviously had this discussion before the Brighton game, but again, when you see that match, it just makes you realise that reinforces how bad it really is actually. You know, not just necessarily in terms of personnel, but also the mindset of those players just needs to change. I mean, it really does. I want to see, and I know I say it all the time, but I want to see people fighting for West Ham. I really want to see that. I want to see people like, you know, the kind of, you know, back like it was back in the 90s. You know, like the Julian Dixies and, you know, all those types of players who just get fucking stuck in.
People who feel proud to play for the club. And we got a bit of a rapport with the fans, most importantly, because literally there ain't.
Which is why I think the youth needs to come through, Gal. I think we need to see some of that raw aggression and, you know, that real desire, that burning kind of hunger and desire to want to play for their club. That's what I want to see, because most of these other guys, they will not have that because they are not coming through the academy. A lot of them are not West Ham fans. Of course they're not. Some people buy into the West Ham thing, right, when they stay for a period of time. But I want to see people coming through, you know, that have, like Mark Noble, his family are all West Ham fans and stuff like that. I know that maybe it might sound a little bit romantic, but that's what I want. I want those types of players to come through. And I'm sure there are some.
Yes,
like, you know, look, Freddie Potts is one of them, mate. You know, his dad's a West Ham ledge. You know, all of these boys have played for West Ham. I want to see him get into that team. It would mean the world for him to get into West Ham's team right now. And you know for sure, if he came into our midfield right now, he would add a lot more than JWP does. So I do feel there are some players. There is something about Lewis Alford that I really like as well. I've been watching a little bit recently.
Fantastic. He's fantastic.
Yeah,
he's got such quick feet, and honestly, he could do it in the Premier League.
I think it's his awareness that I really like. His awareness of what's going on around him. So I think there are some players there. So I would like, and I'm happy.
He thinks 2 or 3 steps ahead, doesn't he? You can see it.
I know it's different. It's a different level when you play in the under 18s or the under 23s, or whatever it is. Right, I get that, but that's not the. I mean, just give him a fucking chance, because he cannot be any worse than what we've got in our midfield right now.
This is a great words from a Cillian Curse. This is West Ham, not Logan's Run. Exactly. It's not a fucking old people's home, is it? It ain't.
Yeah. No, it's true, mate. It's very true.
Nothing wrong with old people, but they shouldn't be playing for West Ham. And you know what I mean? Because I'm quite old myself. I'm one to be calling people old, aren't I? There you go.
But you ain't playing for West Ham, are you, mate? Well,
I ain't playing for West Ham. No, I'd be a disgrace. It has to be said. Would I be worse than James Ward-Prowse?
What position did you play in? I think we had this conversation a few weeks ago. Were you right back or something, weren't you?
No, fuck off.
Where were you?
No, sort of left wing, left sided up front, sort of thing. Yeah, sort of thing.
You're one of those.
Not very fast though.
Left side.
Sorry, shit off a shovel. Shit off a shovel. What was? Yeah. No. I just want us to do the right thing in the summer, and whether it's Potter, whether it's someone else. If it is Potter, and I think it will be, he must be given signings early. So I don't want to see him have any excuses next season, right? I want him to be given a full summer, including the US tour, to bed in most of, not all, but most of the new signings, you know, the first teamers that we need to get in. Get that business done, even if you have to loan the money and pay it back when you do the sales after. Not that they will. They're going to try and sell first. You know,
that's the worry, because we just hope that those players will go quick. I don't want to see them faffing around, you know, until the end of the transfer window, because that's going to be disastrous for West Ham. We need to get shot at them ASAP. Have to. Yeah. Can't be holding on to them much. I don't want to see those fuckers who aren't going to be here next season going on tour of us to bloody US. I don't want to see none of that nonsense. I want to see them fucked off, and then we can start actually reinvesting and bringing new players in. I don't want them coming in at the last minute. That's going to be a nightmare for us.
It's another way that pressure is going to be put on him, because he's not going to be signing Caduce's and Paquetas and people like that, right? And he'd probably get rid of the big names and bring in people we've never heard of. And when that don't work after 3 games, people would be absolutely caning him for turning us into a championship side or something like that, right? So, I don't know. Listen, I wouldn't like to be in his shoes, put it like that. I wouldn't like to be in his shoes. This is a very, very difficult thing.
Well, conversely, I actually would like to be in his shoes, to be fair. I'd love to get in that dressing room and give him a fucking rollicking. I'd love that. And I'd also wouldn't mind getting the bunts he gets paid as well, so I'll take some of that as well.
I'd like to understand, like I said the other day, I'd like to understand where the problems are in that dressing room. I'd really, really love to understand that, and who is honest and who isn't, you know?
Like I said before, mate, I want Potter to let everyone know who is boss, and he can do that. And I think he'll get a lot of respect out of the fans if he starts making big decisions and saying, right, fuck off, you're going on the bench. You know, that's what I want to see. I do want to see that. I'm worried that he's too much of a pussy to actually bother doing that, Gal.
I think I'm sticking to my prediction here, Nearly Grant, and that is he's going to score against Forest and stop him getting into Europe, because that's what happens against your former teams, isn't it? But then again, that would envisage a West Ham win. That ain't going to happen, is it?
No, it's not. It's absolutely not.
This is what I want to see as well. Potts, Surfy, and Alford midfield three.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to see all three of them in midfield. That might be asking a bit much, but certainly I'd like to see one, maybe two, but not all three.
I'd like to see them all blended in throughout the season. Yeah, just drip fed in.
Not sure about Earthy, mate. Not sure.
Well, I'm more sure about I don't know. He's doing all right. Maybe he needs another year out alone, but I'm definitely sure about Alford. I'm definitely sure about Potts. And they're two different types of central midfielder as well, aren't they? So they're two parts that we need.
Yeah, they are. I mean, Potts is definitely someone that we would need in there for sure. As a holder, he would be great in there. He's got a great engine on him. He has that physique and the way he moves a bit of like Declan Rice, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Not kind of comparing him in terms of ability, but he does move like him.
Yeah. No, he does.
Here's a good question from Randy. What has he put down here? Where was it? Here we go. How many signings would it take to try and turn this all around and get the squad in a more competitive shape with the right balance? Go on, Gal, you go first.
Well, like I said the other day, you can't rebuild 1 to 11. It's got to be a partial rebuild, but quite a significant rebuild. And I think when you count the number of players that we've got to add to that side, as first teamers, we've got to sign 5 to 6 regular first team players, plus some backups who are ready to come into the first team as needed, plus bring the youths through. That's how big a job this is. And for that to work, every one of those pretty much has got to be a success and hit the ground running.
Yeah.
That's the ask. It's significant, right? It's unlikely.
I would agree with you, because it's more than just a personnel change. It's a mentality change, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, it's definitely a mentality change. So I think
what
you're looking at, though, like I've said, probably since the beginning of this season, is a spine. So I'd say a centre back, centre midfielder, box to box, and a striker. That's pivotal. I think if you can build around that and get the mentality right, and making sure these professional footballers are actually being professional and carrying out their tasks of being essentially some of the best players out there in the fucking world, you know, because they're playing in the Premier League, working their asses off, then I think we can make things right. But, you know, it's a mentality shift for me. I think that is key, because what you notice with the team that we do have right now, Gal, is that there is a lot of talent there. They're talented players. But it's all a mentality thing. I think
this is my point, though.
Toxic, you know.
This is my point. What Obsidian says here, we don't know how the dressing room is getting rid of bad apples. I think there are a significant number of bad apples in that dressing room. And they all need to be flushed out, because this problem didn't just arrive with the new players. This problem's been there for 18 months or more.
Yeah, I don't think there's a significant amount of bad apples in there. I don't know. I'm probably thinking maybe 2 or 3 in particular that I would definitely prioritise shifting out.
I think there's more. Got to be honest.
Maybe.
Anyway, it's all a guess anyway, and it's all hypothetical, isn't it? But anyway, look. I'm glad we got that show out of the way. Anyway, Chris, thanks everybody for watching. Could you subscribe to the channel if you'd like to? Please subscribe. Go on. So the Bobby Moore stand.
Just before we go, Gal, actually, there's some people mentioning Spurs here as well. I actually think that we will turn up the Spurs this weekend. I do.
We've got to.
I think we will. I really do.
We've got Spurs, and then we're going to, Man United the week after, right? So, really, really got to make both of those count, because I think they're both very, very winnable. Our away form is still pretty good, but imagine being 1-0 up at Old Trafford with 10 minutes to go. Imagine. Yeah,
and then losing 2-1 in the final 2-3 minutes of the game.
Yeah. We're going to be shitting ourselves at the end of every game now, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to see people working hard. That's all I want to see. Yeah. And I think against Spurs, we will see some of that. I do believe it, because I think the players know that they're going to have to turn up for this one. I don't think there's anyone that could be sitting on the beach for the Spurs game. They know it's a London derby. They know that it's important for us that we don't get spanked by our neighbours, right? I mean, it's not our fucking cup final. Spurs can do one when it really winds me up when they say that. But it does hold some importance to us, because it's embarrassing if you get beat by Spurs, frankly. And that's why I want us to go out there and fucking fight and win that game.
I mean, there's been a lot of damage done in narrowly losing games and narrowly drawing games and stuff like that recently. It's been a bit frustrating. But if he goes and beats Spurs and then beats Man United, then he's game on again, isn't he? So let's.
Well,
just...
we can finish above those teams, mate. You know, there's no reason why we can't finish above Spurs. Absolutely no reason at all. Because I mean, they fucking concede goals for fun, as we've seen today, as they do all season. They have a high line. They are, you know, you can expose them, particularly in those fullback areas. So if you get Bowen back on the right hand side again, and Kudus on the left-hand side, and a striker up front, I think we will be causing them a lot of problems. But we have to play. We have to do that. We do. Anyway, look, let's hope for a better week next week and the week after. There's only 4 games to go now. We're nearly to the summer. Everybody, don't worry, there ain't long to go. But thank you for all your comments. Thank you for watching on this very, very miserable Sunday night. Please let it be a happy Monday. We'll see. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, mate. Thank you. Have a lovely week. And the same to everyone in the chat as well.
Yeah.
3 points next Sunday.
Indeed. See you soon. Come in your irons.